As we enter the season of Advent, for our weekly reflections, I'm going to do something a little different this year and just focus on a word from the gospel that really sets the tone of what we should think about and be trying to do during the various weeks of Advent. First week of Advent, a word that pops out to us from the gospel is watch. Now, watch is a word we use all the time, but it's a little bit different than our modern connotation. It's not like watching a series on Netflix where we watch as a passive observer. The idea of watching in the scriptures was a little bit different. It was watching and waiting in anticipation, to watch for the return of the Lord. And in the gospel on this first Sunday of Advent, we hear to watch and be ready. Are we watching for Christ? Again, this is not a passive spectator sport. It's active. It takes participation from us. I think for most of us, if the truth be told, we get so caught up in our daily lives and are so stressed out with everything we've got to do and didn't get done from the day before that watching for the Lord gets slowly forgotten about. But Advent is that time to bring it back onto the screen, back into focus, to remember that Advent is not just a preparation for Christmas, it's the preparation for the Lord's return. Whether that's when we leave this world and go to be with him in the next, or whether when he comes back at the end of time. And in the gospel, Jesus uses that image of being like servants waiting for their master's return. And I love that image because they weren't just sitting there watching at the door. They had stuff to do, just like you and I do. They had work to get done. They had things they were responsible for. But in the midst of all that busyness and activity, they never lost sight of their real goal, which was being ready for the master's return. And as we begin the season of Advent, that's a great goal for all of us. We can't just sit around looking at the beauty of Christmas. We all have a lot of stuff to get done over the next few days and weeks. But we can be like those servants in the gospel, busy with our daily activities and labors and responsibilities, but never forgetting our primary one, which is to be watching, which is to be ready, which is to be waiting. And that's something that can happen in everything we do, whether it's attending Mass on Sunday, waiting in line in the grocery store, even being stuck in traffic on the Beltway. In everything we do, if we're constantly watching and being open to the presence of Jesus coming to us in that stranger in front of us, in that person we encounter at work, in that person we live with, wherever it may be, then like the servants in the gospel, we're ready when the Master does. Not only come back at the end of time, but when Jesus speaks to us, touches us, enters into our lives in the everyday, ordinary times that we so often miss. So this first week of Advent, as we enter into it, let's be more watchful. And again, I can't stress enough, that's not a spectator sport. Being watchful takes effort to be aware of what's going on around us, to be awake to the people and the circumstances of our lives, and to be watching, for we never know when Jesus might just pop up in our lives and touch our lives and touch our hearts and change us. What a shame it would be if at that moment we weren't paying attention, if we weren't watching and we missed the Lord, not only during Advent, but every day of our lives. Not a sermon, not a homily, but just something for all of us to think about during this season of Advent.